Hey there, Fight here with a quick overview video over Survey Snatcher. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this video is not going to go through all the features because there are far too many, and that's why we've got the manual. But I'm going to run you through the setup of one survey with like one slide with questions in it, so you see how this thing works in practice. I think that's the most important thing, because once you've understood how to set up one of these, then the rest is easy. So what we've got here is, actually let's just do a completely new one, okay? New survey. This here, by the way, is the overview screen. You've got all the different surveys there, but here let's do a new one. Alright, general settings. So this is just internally, whatever. For whatever, I know, for fun. That's what we do. And then you've got a survey or quiz. That's a big question here. A quiz is where all the questions appear one after another in a row. Alright, and the survey is where you basically build trees and guide people through trees. So the survey is, in, if you like, the intelligent version, whereas the quiz, it's static, it's there. Okay, so you can describe this is all internal. Here you activate it on the survey screen there, on the overview screen you can activate it as well. In case your survey doesn't show up, this is what you want to check. Okay, if you accidentally clicked on off and you're going to your screen, it's like, where is my survey? I mean, I've done that often enough. Then autoresponder, of course, you need to go to the settings, set up your autoresponder and webinar system, etc. This is just on a new site here, on a different site, so I only have, well, I have a Weber, but I haven't installed the webinar system, okay? So there's any direct support for GoToWebinar. We also support Mark Thompson's webinar, oh god, whatever it's called, Mark Thompson's, where there'll be a link somewhere, right? Webinar Express, that's the one. And the other one is Walt Bayless's Google Hangouts plugin. So both utilize Google Hangouts, and you can use those. And it kind of makes sense to integrate this as much as you can, because you can almost do evergreen stuff with this, especially with GoToWebinar. You can have someone else upload a presentation, and there you go. So very powerful stuff. For example, when you're doing offline or client generation, anything like that, do some educational marketing. Use the webinar systems. Anyway, autoresponder, this is the one you choose, and then basically the code gets generated based on that. So, display options. This is the fun bit. You have different ways, and if you see on the sales letter, okay, the pop-up is of course the thing that pops up on the screen in the middle. And for this, for example, I can say, show my pop-up after whatever 7 seconds. We're going to do it a little bit quicker, so we don't have to wait so long. So 3 seconds, all right. We also have the options of using cookies, because if someone comes to your site, say the home page, and you have a survey that is like, how's it going, good or bad, you don't want to show them that every time they come back. So you might want to say, after only a week, you re-show the survey. Instead of having a delay, you can also have a trigger that kicks in once people have scrolled down the page a little bit. So when I can't really scroll here. Okay, yes. Here we go, all right? So you come to this page and you scroll down by about 20%, boom, now the thing would come up. The idea behind this is quite simple, that when you go in and you get engaged with a piece of content, you really like it, you're in the right place, and you start scrolling down, that's an indication that people are interested in the content you've got there. If, on the other hand, they come to the page like this, arrive here and go, nah, that's not it, and click on another link and disappear, they haven't scrolled down, they haven't really engaged with the content, so there's no point showing them the survey that's relevant to that particular page. Then, post pages here show everywhere. Well, by default it shows everywhere, but you can go and select any pages or posts you like. There we go, I want to show here and here, for example. You can choose your categories or homepage category, blah, 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 etc. So, in general, I would over time build up a portfolio of surveys which are specific to particular, at least, categories. So if someone is interested in high quality espresso machines, there's no point showing them like drip coffee machines, all right? Just to give you an idea. So then you've got the stats. That is basically at the moment empty, obviously, because we haven't got anything in there, but it's basically shows you conversions, conversion rates, etc., etc. You can export this. Also, you can clear the stats. Very important. This is orange because it's important. It's important because if you have a site with a ton of traffic, now the stuff gets stored in your database, in the WordPress database. There's a database at the back end, and if you've got tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of information, and you're doing lots of split tests and lots of SEO stuff, well, that starts to grow. So from time to time you just want to go out, clear out your stats. At the moment we have none, so let's go and design some questions. So here you go. Oh, alright, display options. Okay, we have the pop-up, we have the top bar, which basically is a bar that appears at the top. Once again, you know, delay after 3 seconds, and we'll look at a couple of options in a minute. You have the same top, basically can come in from the side, but it's slightly different. We have different designs there. So top bar is typically a colored bar. The one on the side you can define, you know, for example here, on the side, you can design what call to action you want to have. So this slides into the screen after whatever, you know, 3 seconds, and then you can click on there and it opens up the whole screen. So here a couple of different designs, whatever there, you know, boop. And then you've got these. Yeah, I love these little kids. There you go. You know, wouldn't you click on there? I mean, I've got another one here. Which one is that one? Yeah, need help? Yeah, of course I need help when I see these little darlings. So there you go. And these are, by the way, they're all from Shutterstock. Model release forms are signed, so it's all legal. It's all good. You can use that kind of stuff. Except you're not allowed to pull these images out and use them on another site. Not without having this plugin on there. Okay, those are the license terms. Please don't, you know, abuse that. So that's a sidebar. Then okay, top bar, you can have different colors. You can have the call to action. You design that. The exit pop-up is basically the same as a pop-up, but happens to appear at the end. The chat is basically a Facebook type thing where you have a, you know, you can design your title on there. The full page splash is like a pop-up without a frame. So the entire page is a certain color. Look at this lovely, whatever this is, like a dove's eggshell. I mean, who wouldn't engage with a nice little survey that is on an eggshell color? I don't know what Raoul was into when he set that as a default, but there you go. And then you've got the embed code. Okay, so embed, basically you then take a shortcode and stick it on your wherever you like on the page. So here is the first thing that let's go to the questions then. Basically, at the moment, we've got 3 things that can happen. Okay, either it's a multiple choice, it's an open question, or it's an endpoint. And in the sales video on the thingy, actually, let me just pop that up. I'll quickly show you the difference. So here's an example. That is a multiple choice question where you typically have a background image, which in this case, you know, this happens to be on a splash page. So that's an example of splash without the eggshell color in the background, so we've set it to white. So this is basically the picture, and then we've put the text in the middle. This is the headline, these are the choices, and then you've got the next arrow that takes you to the next screen. I'll just refresh that because this happens to run in a split test, so we see the other one. So this one, once again, exactly same principle, okay? Headline, background image, there are your choices, and there's the next button. And now we run through the different examples. So this is basically, now I've taken a screen with multiple choices, but I haven't put any choices on there. So when we look at this guy here, multiple choice you can use as multiple choice, or you just say, well, I want to give some feedback, in which case you just don't add any choices. And then you end up with something that looks like this. Okay. Then you can, no, sorry. That was wrong. Wrong. Now we should have the girls come back up, yes, because it is on girls and boys, because this is running in a split test, okay, those two against each other. So I've set up a demo funnel here, so you click on freedom, where we've got, this is a feedback thing, you know, it's basically multiple choice but no choices. And here's, we're asking for some text. So, what's your #1 question about doing affiliate marketing? How to find a good offer that converts. Boom. And then, once again, here's an example of basically using a multiple choice without choices, splash screen. And then the only difference is, the only last one we haven't seen is basically where you capture an email. So that would be the endpoint here. So what we've seen is multiple choice, which you can use as multiple choice or just a splash screen, open question, which has a text box to capture text, and an endpoint. So let's start with multiple choice. And now, okay, this is one of the things I need to point out. Right? If in doubt, save and we can't quite see the save button here because my screen is small here. Save survey. All right. The way WordPress, I don't know. Raoul tells me all these technical details. I don't know. Okay, there are some technical reasons why sometimes stuff doesn't show up, and it is because WordPress are fiddling with their editor, and basically we wanted to keep everything as close as possible to WordPress. So you're used to the interface, you don't have to learn anything new. But the way they have structured it, sometimes you have to save stuff. So this one here, we may or may not be lucky. So what we'll see here, for example, is you can enter a title. I'll get back to the example of needing to save, okay? So this is just internally, when you have a list of all these different questions, or actually, let's close this here for a second. So you could go and say, I already know I'm going to have 3 multiple choice questions. So another one, and another multiple choice questions, and one of them could be followed by an open question. And then this is going to be basically 2 sales funnels, or 2 main funnels. So in the beginning, I ask one question, it has 2 answers. One of them is going to lead to this to a splash screen where I just say, here are your choices, or here's some feedback. The other one is going to lead to yet another questions thing, and that has 2 choices on there. And one of them is going to lead to my open question. The other one is going to lead to an endpoint. So I need 3 endpoints for all of this. So you just go add endpoint, and add endpoint. Now, of course, we need to go in and populate them. I'm just going to run through this, okay? So here's the first one. Now, because we've got this big list here, and you kind of want to go, right, which one was this here? Well, I don't know. You just give it names. That's the whole point of this, okay? So this would be my main question. Now, I already know this is the entry point. Cool. What you saw here, when you click on enter main question, it basically fills in the question text here. You don't have to keep it in there, but that's by default we thought, why retype it if you don't like it? If your main question is what is your main question about X, Y, Z, then you can do that, no problem. So then we go in here, and now you can see, all right, this didn't update here. Okay, title is there, and it really should show here. And the whole reason I'm running through this example is that basically that is one of those magic things that happens in the background. So if I now go in here and say, okay, this here is my, that's the title, just a reminder, this would be choice 1 endpoint. And where choice 1, let's say, we're talking about whatever favorite drinks, it's white wine. Endpoint, there we go, nothing is here. So if I now save my survey, and go to my questions, then with a bit of luck, there you go, main question and choice of white wine. Okay, so that is the main thing I want to say. Or if you stand here and go, I just typed something in, I can't see it. If in doubt, hit save survey. Okay, it's not because it's a bug. It's, trust me, I'm more like a Mac user. I constantly batter poor Raoul and tell him, look, no, this needs to be user friendly. And he goes, well, if you want to make it unlike WordPress, then we can. But if we want to use the be as close as possible to everything so people are familiar with it, then that is the way, unfortunately, we need to do it. So, alrighty. So we go in here, and now we say, look, the next question after this is. This you would use if you're using this as a splash screen, because after that you don't have any choices. You go to question number, whatever, and once you've entered names here, you can identify them by name. That's the whole point of identifying them by name when you build up this funnel. Now you might say, okay, we've said main question actually has a couple of questions, so we scroll down here and say choices. Here's another example. Okay, check this out. So actually no, I've already saved it. Before I saved, there was no text here. Okay, here's a media thing where you can add introductory text. I'll show you that in a second. But the first time you just create questions, there is no text here. And you need the text if, for example, you want to have JavaScript in here. You can design it any way you like. When you don't see this, if in doubt, hit save and it'll appear. So back to up here. We have our main question. What is our main question about? Let's call it something, about wine. And then we go down here, right, okay, add choice, and that's my answer choice 1, answer choice 2. And here we're going to say whatever, white is better than red, question mark. Red is better than white, question mark. Or whatever, you know, the question at the top could have been, what's your favorite, red or white, for example. There you go. Now, next question after that is basically, okay, I didn't set them up. Once you've got proper names, you could easily identify them. Go, yeah, the next question after this. So if someone chooses this one here, then you want them to go to this one here. If, on the other hand, they choose this, then they can go to this. Very, very simple in principle. You just need to understand it one time. Now, down here you see advanced list segmentation. Okay, what is advanced list segmentation? Now, the original idea of this whole thing was, well, look, we've got someone come in and say they have a main question where they can choose red or white. If they have red, they go to number 2. If they choose white, they go to number 3. In number 3, we ask them some other question, and then they go here or here. And over here, we say here or here. At the end, you might have 3 or 4 endpoints. But in this case, we've got 3 endpoints. Okay, the way I've just sort of created this random example. In the 3 endpoints, if we go down here, here are our 3 endpoints. The email, email, email. Okay, this is the capture email things. So this one here, I can now capture their name and email because I have told the system earlier that I'm using Aweber for this particular survey. You know, this is all set up here, and we can go through the settings. We'll do that later. But the idea is that basically now I can capture people with my thing. The cool thing is I can do things like move people between autoresponder lists or sign up to specific lists. So at this point, we might have someone who likes dry white wines. We know that in all the answers they've given us that they absolutely hate red wine and they're totally into dry white wines. Not sweet ones, but they want absolutely crisp, dry white wines. So there's no point putting them into a list that talks about red wines or sweet white wines or dessert wines. Blech. They hate that, Or you could put them in a list that basically, keeps going how terrible sweet dessert wines are. But overall, you want to be talking about white wines, and that's why you go in here and okay, like I said earlier, this is on a site where I haven't installed this yet. Normally, what you'd have is you'd have a whole list of all the lists in your autoresponder account. That's why you first need to go into settings and set that up. Pulls them automatically, and you can say anyone who goes through here and ends up in at this point here has indicated to me that they want white wines. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them into the white wine list over here. I can also do autoresponder tags and tag values. Now, because I didn't create or didn't set this up properly, I can't see them here, but basically there's a drop-down list. You can pull them down. At the moment, they're not shown. And then you can tag them, which is great for example, broadcast emails. When you go, right, anyone who's ever said that they're interested, maybe you don't want to create a separate list for white wines or for crisp dry white wines that are still flowery. But you could say, okay, anyone who's indicated that, I'll tag with a value, and then if ever a promotion comes around that is so super specific to this one topic, then I will go and send them a specific thing, and basically in Aweber I'll filter them by that particular tag. And then of course you can sign them up to webinars, in which case, or in this case, once again, it's not hooked up because of the new site. What will happen here is, depending on the the system you've chosen, GoToMeeting, Webinar Express, or Google Hangouts plugin, you will see the whole list of all the webinars there. So anyway, long story is, at the end points, you can put people into different lists. Now, you might have a situation where you say, well, actually, by default, I want people being in this list. And then later on, I might have a situation where basically, instead of this all branching out, they might come back together to one endpoint where I have one thank you for taking the survey thing. But at that point, I don't want to put them into the common list. I actually want to use something I selected up here. Okay, so that's why you can go in here and do exactly the same thing as down here. You pull your autoresponder list, the webinar, the autoresponder tag, and the tag value, and you set it at this level so that when later on, because of the way you've designed your survey, they all end up at the same point. They're all, You might have told people who drink red wine, go away, this site is about white wine, this is not the wrong place, go somewhere else. So there's no point. But anyone else, they all end up in this one endpoint. Okay, and that's why we have this advanced list segmentation stuff up here. It really is, it is advanced, and that's why it's called advanced. For most cases, you can safely ignore this and simply go down here and basically put your stuff in here. Alrighty, let's now have some fun with this guy here. So, what's your main question about wine? Looks very boring, doesn't it? Actually, when you show this on a screen, it'll be sort of a slight grey background. It's still not very exciting. So what we want to do now is, actually, I think we should show this. Not in bed, but we're going to go for pop-up, and we're going to show this on, you think, the new Gmail tabs. Exactly, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, now we're going to go and make this a little bit prettier. So, first of all, you can design the size of this. There we go. Hang on. There we go. So, make it bigger or smaller. You can adjust the height to content. The content is basically everything you create here, and the size of this really is determined by these numbers here. So pay attention now. Class, pay attention. Right, there are margins, top and bottom, and they're all over the place. So this is everything that goes in here. The whole body has a margin at the top and the sides and the bottom. So your questions and choices and submit button, they have to fit in there, and there will always be a minimum distance from that edge. So if, for example, your submit button is at the very, very bottom. Well, it's actually 20, oops, there you say, 20 pixels from the bottom. But the submit button, let's see, has nothing at the bottom. So if I now wanted to move a little bit further up, I have two choices. I either go in here in the body or here and say, all right, and I move this up. Now, look up here to the submit. I'm just going to increase this by 20, okay? So as you can see now, this whole thing needs the whole box needs to be bigger because it can't get closer to this text. So that's how these margins work all over the place. So in here, I can select a background image or select one of my pre-existing ones. So here the vintage ones. We're working on getting a better preview of these things so you don't have to scroll through this whole thing. But for the time being, that's what we've got here, right? So if I want to see the whole image and not just adjust to the content, I just click on here and say, all right, this is how big I want this. There you go. Okay. So at the moment, the maximum size of all these images is, oh, this particular one, yeah, 580 by 580, I think. Yes, exactly. Okay. So that is, oh no, actually this picture isn't 580 by 580. The box itself, we can go up to 580 by 580. Okay, with all the tests we've done, that's roughly the size that works on most machines, still looks good. Anything bigger, you just, you know, there's no point to it. So and of course one of the reasons is when you do these surveys and you load all the images, oh by the way, when you create images, when you create your own images, you want to really optimize them for the web, because when you load them, you know, all that data needs to be transferred. And that's one of the reasons why we've kind of stuck to this 580 by 580. If you make it much bigger and you have like super high resolution images, the loading process is going to take for absolutely ever. So there you go. Set a background. That's quite nice. So now, what's the main question about wine? That's not very nice. Let me go in and make that prettier. That's the question down here. And let's say I want to have the impact. My personal favorite is the impact font. There you go. And I want a whatever green color. That's probably going to look disgusting. Is it? Yes. Oh god, ow. Ow, 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 go away. Blue. Okay, what's your main question about wine? Then I want to have a bigger font, so you can use these little thingies here and you can see how it kind of updates very, very slowly. There you go. Especially when I'm screen flow recording this here, or you just type in the number you want. I happen to know that I want 39. I want giant. So here's my big thing, and I can align that anywhere I like. Oops, right, left, or justify. Oops, come here. There you go. So at the moment I want this centered. And then maybe I want it further down, so I say at the top, gonna give me a margin of 70. Book, there you go. And the submit button, I don't like the actual submit button. I want my own picture, which you can upload here, or we're just gonna go, well, here's some predefined different arrows. that one there. That's beautiful, isn't it? Maybe it isn't, but you get the idea. So I want that up here. And now, of course, I want to have some answers in there. So here's answer choice 1, 2, or 3. And this is once again an example. Okay, I've just set these two in here and they don't show up. Okay, once again, it's got to do with how these things are connected in the background. So we need to go down here, save survey. Go to questions. There's my main question. And there are the two answers. Okay, the answer choices. So that is, I think once you've got that fundamental understanding how these things hang together, that basically you just string them up by selecting these things here. Oh, by the way, I earlier said here, here's the next question. If you don't have any choices, you use this box here. If you have choices, you go down here. In each of the choices, you have the next. Okay, next question there. All right. So, but fundamental principle, you build that tree out. You can capture or funnel people into email address or email lists and webinars at any point you like. For most cases, it's probably enough to do it right at the end. And then here, the actual design, sometimes you'll see stuff not showing up. You change it down here, it doesn't show up. If in doubt, go hit the save button and it's all good. Okay, it's not a bug, it's by design, or it's basically a technical limitation and we can't get around it. So, questions here, or choices, let's make them a bit prettier, of course. Font family, whatever. There we go, and that is definitely too small, so we want, like, what's better? There you go. And we want a slightly different color, something red, yes. Okay, and then you move stuff around. Now there is one exception with all these margins here. All right, what I'd like you to do is have a look at this here, the top margin. Let's set this to 20. Okay, so what you'd expect is this stuff to move around, okay, or move down. What happened there? Okay, basically, the top margin in the choices is the top margin for each of the choices. So as you increase this, the distance between them increases between each. Now at the moment we only have 2 choices, so you can't really see that. Actually, let's add one more. All right, one more choice, whatever we call it, yellow. Right, now if you've paid attention, you already know it's not going to show up at the top. We need to save first, blah blah blah. There we go. So here you go. Now this thing has been bumped up or bumped down because the spacing has increased by so much. Okay, that is by design. So basically, if you want more space between your main question and this whole block, what you do is you go to your question and you say at the bottom, I'd like to have more margin. So let's increase that. Boom. Hang on. Did that do something? Should do. There you go. Okay. So if I don't like that, if I don't use this part, if I use the one in the choices down here, then I'm increasing the spacing between those two. So that's the only place where the margins go a little bit wrong. Once again, it's a design feature because in practice we figured out that that's what we use all the time. We want to increase or decrease the spacing between these guys. So I'm going to top whatever, I'll go back to 10. Boom, there you go, closer together. And the distance here between those two is then done by the bottom margin in this guy. Once you played around with this a little while, yeah, it's all good. So there you go, approaching 30 minutes. I thought I could do this in 10. Once you've done it a few times, it's super easy. Okay, you'll very quickly get used to it, and it's great fun. I kid you not. I've done quite a few products. I've done lots of SEO tools and all that kind of stuff. And they're all exciting. And then you export stuff in CVS and you get all geeky and look at it. But this I love. I'm so happy with this tool because it's just like, oh, I want to go and touch this. And then of course they look pretty darn cool on your website. So go and have some fun. What we're going to do is we're going to have a competition at the end of this week. Okay, I'm going to send out an email and just going to go wild with this. Go and have some fun, because it really is. I mean, wherever I look at the moment, survey. All the big news sites have them. All the big I'm subscribed to cycling news and that kind of stuff. Surveys wherever you look, because that's what people love. They love getting engaged, and this is a great opportunity to get people into your site and truly get that social feel going. Alright. If you've got any questions, hit us up, open a ticket on the support desk. That's probably best. I mean, if you've been on my list for a long time, you know that I tend to respond as much as possible, but at the moment it's summer holidays, so it's better to use the support desk if you can. Alrighty, cheers.